Well, hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Saturday, y'all. Welcome to the Success Code Fireside Chats, where conscious leadership meets business and real talk. Happy Saturday. What a beautiful, beautiful day. I'm super excited to be here. Considering, I've had a morning already, I'm going to come in here and share with you a little bit about the week that has gone by and be in gratitude for that. And share some wins. And I hope that you take time to really look at your wins every day. One of the things that I tell my clients is that you got to celebrate every little win. Sometimes we forget that that is part of the process, which leads me to today. And by the way, if you are here for the first time, if you're watching on the replay, this is an amazing opportunity to hear some different contexts, some different conversations, to engage in the conversations. So if you're on YouTube, if you're on LinkedIn Live, if you're on Facebook Live, I'm going to invite you to participate in the conversation today with me. I'm your host, Lorna Sherland, and I am the CEO of Accelerate Her, and I help driven female entrepreneurs to really find where their values line up with who they are so that they can create and build a business that they love, that really thrives on their values. So we're going to jump in today. And if you are a woman, a man, it doesn't matter. I coach men, by the way. If you ever felt like you're doing everything right, you're doing everything right. You're doing what the coaches tell you. You're doing what the courses tell you. You're doing what your parents told you. And the thing, you're still not getting the results that you want, then this is the episode for you. Because today I'm going to dive into a couple of success myths that I believe that if we really tune in to ourselves, we'll really see that things are really working. It's just a matter of process. A lot of times we forget that life is process. We were an embryo in our mother's womb, and then we grew to this humongous thing in your mom's belly. And then she pushed you out and you were this little thing that she had to hold until you were able to figure out that, oh, I got legs and I can walk. And then you started trying to walk and you fell down, and then you held on to stuff, and then you fell down, and then you started walking. All of a sudden one day you stood up and you're like, oh my God, I'm standing. And you start walking, and then you got on the bike and you started riding the bike, and you fell off the bike because you have to learn how to pedal, right? I think we, as adults, we forget that this is the process of life. And I'm actually in the process of reading a couple of books right now. I'm reading Working with the Law by Raymond Hollowell. And one of the things that he reminded me of when I was reading one of the chapters this week is that, working harder is not the answer, right? The answer is alignment, right? When you were a kid, you were totally in alignment with who you are, who you are. Notice I said who you are. I was actually just going to change it and say who you were. And then I realized, no, because that's where we get to go back to who we are, not who we were. We're still that. We're still needed mom. That little kid who got on the bike and fell off and didn't cry, but got up. And yes, maybe you cried, but you got up. And then you did it again, and you did it again, and you did it again until all of a sudden you're writing. And I'm sticking to the story because I follow this. I don't even follow her. She just pops up on my feed in Facebook. And I don't remember her name, but it's this. I watched this little blind girl ride a bike, And she started when she was really young. I believe she was maybe 3 when she started riding the bike. She's blind, she can't see. So the only way her mom has taught her to ride the bike was to follow her voice. So she follows her mom's voice. Her body has the ability to ride the bike. She follows her mom's voice so that she doesn't um, run into anything on the road or wherever they're riding. She doesn't go off course if they're in the playground. And she reminds me of how life is, that we get to just focus on going back to who we have been so that we can move forward. Yes, I know it sounds like an oxymoron. It sounds really like just like going back to the, and maybe that's what it requires, right? Maybe that's what it requires, that young childlike innocence of just believing that everything is possible, right? And in that believing, you return to alignment and intention, and stepping away from the grind of, oh, I got to do this, I must do this, I got to try harder, I got to do better. And believe me, I've been there, and even now sometimes I go back there, right? When I believe so much in a project and I don't see it coming to fruition right away, I tend to go back into that grind. And that's not it. That's one of the reasons I created the Grit and Thrive Live community, because I realized that the grind is not the answer. The grind is not the answer. You know, Raymond Hollowell talks about the law of thinking, the law of thinking. And if we really think about who we have been versus who we are, then we'll start getting into alignment and getting back to the belief and the knowing, so that we can step into our power and step out of this programming. That's the only word that's coming to me right now, programming. And I got to tell you, this is why most entrepreneurs feel stuck even when they're busy, right? Because that was myth number 1, by the way. Myth number 2 is that we have to have more strategy. Let me tell y'all would not believe the amount of money I've spent on strategy. Strategies don't work if you're not aligned. More work doesn't work if you're not aligned. Hear me when I say this. I'm the voice of reason today. Notice I'm solo today because this is a conversation that I think is going to be of super value to everybody today. And I say this with love. We've got to, I've got to, you've got to. I'm speaking to both of us, my friends, and we've got to start thinking from our own thoughts, right? All you need is a little bit more clarity, a little bit more belief in yourself. I was listening to Bishop Wayne Malcolm, the business bishop, yesterday, and he's one of those guys who, when I listen to him, I get fired up because he's fired up. He's fired up to change the minds of the people that he encounters in his space, whether it's online or in person, whether he's preaching a sermon or just being in conversation with friends, right? He's fired up. So he fires me up to believe again. Because I am human, y'all. I am human. I will be human all day long, right? But it's the awareness of the knowing that when you get into those spaces, then you're able to come back into present, right? And be like, oh, this is what's happening. Oh, this is where I get to go. Oh, this is where I get to step back and really be intentional so that I can go into alignment. Because alignment is the thing that opens up the doorway to a lot of things I'm watching a friend of mine this week. She's flying high, and before she started flying high, she was like, "Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that." And then she got into alignment, and everything opened up. Now she's like this beautiful butterfly, just flying in the spaces, and I'm so congratulating and like cheering her on because she's tapped into this source that we all have that we have forgotten, right? So in her joy and in her getting back to her alignment, she's able to attract the things that are going to support her growth, are going to support her income, are going to support all the mission and the vision that she had because she's back in alignment, you know and that's so where we get to all go right now. There's no more need for more funnels and more coaches and more scripts. If you don't have it, you get to create it because you need it, right? You get to be on stages. You get to have a funnel. You get to have the script for the sales calls when the people who you are meant to serve come into your space. You get to have all those things. I'm talking to the people who have all those things and who are still feeling stuck, who are still feeling misaligned, who are still not clear about what they get to do in the world. I've been having so many huge conversations. I was having another conversation yesterday with a woman who she was a seven-figure earner and she put it all down because she got aligned. And I was so proud of her because she got aligned with what was important to her. It wasn't the seven-figure business. Now she's on a mission. Now she's on a mission because she's been there. Now she's on a mission to help other entrepreneurs to step into their power, and it's so fun because I don't know, when I see or when I hear people walking in their purpose, it just makes me light up myself because I know that when you walk in your purpose, because I've experienced it, when you walk in your purpose, things are so much easier. It's so much easier, y'all. So much easier. And so I want to step into where did I get to? I lost track of my thing here. So you don't need more strategy, right? So the next myth that I want to debunk is if it's not happening fast, it's not working. That was a big thing for today, right? If it's not happening fast, it's not working. So if you're in my world, or if you have heard me speak before, you've probably heard me say that a tree doesn't grow overnight, right? A tree, you got to plant the seed, you got to cover it with the soil, you got to water it, it's got to sprout. I don't know any tree that does that. If somebody knows a tree that grows overnight, please let me know. And I mean this, I'm not being facetious or anything, because I'm not one of those who claim to know everything. So if you know about a tree that grows overnight, please, please, please put in the comments, let me know, because then I get to actually change my conversation, right? But a tree is overnight. It doesn't take overnight to grow. So if the tree doesn't take overnight to grow, then what makes us think that when we invest in a program, when we invest in a relationship, when we invest in a business, that it's going to grow overnight, right? We forget that there's foundational pieces that get to go in, right? Because if we're living or if we're building a business on a foundation that's shaky, on a foundation that doesn't have real strong standards under it, then it falls apart. And most people think that when businesses fall apart, it's because they don't have enough clients. I will challenge that. Again, speaking from experience, if my foundation isn't solid, there's more of a likelihood that the business will fail, right? So that myth that if it's not happening, if it's not happening fast, it's not working, all starts with the foundation. So the foundation is the seed as well as the process. So don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Fix the foundation, right? Water the seed, right? And Time. Yes, time is a construct, but we still have natural laws that we got to abide by, right? That's why I'm reading this book by Raymond Hollowell, because in it there's some laws that I think we forgot. When I was in school, it took me 3 times. I think you heard me say this before. It took me 3 times to pass my physics exam. Because the physics class had so many laws in it that I had to study, right? And I was like, why do I need all this, right? And now that I'm this age, I'm like, oh, that's why I needed to like study physics and stay the course and actually pass the test, pass the grade, so that I could now, in this stage of my life, understand why it was so important and why the laws are existent, right? So having that knowledge about the process of how seed grows will help you, will ground you in, when you're building, it's a process. I don't care what level you get to. Even the 7-figure entrepreneur that I told you about, who I was talking to yesterday, it's a process now that she is starting again. She's building. I see her building her list, building her connections, building her relationships, building her stages. She's building another foundation to support the business and the mission that she now has, right? So what's planted doesn't grow just because you keep digging up the soil, right? If you keep checking to see if it's growing by digging it up, then it can't grow. So really focusing on, okay, I planted a tree. I know that a tree is going to grow, right? So staying focused on that is going to help you to make room for the things that get to come in to support that. The sunshine, the water, right? We're not going to have drought because you're waiting on it's a process. The rain's got to fall or you got to water it. The rain's got to fall for the water to even get to you to water it, right? So that whole process, giving it the room that it needs to breathe and bring in the growth, right? You got to trust the soil. You got to trust the soil. You got to trust the soil so that you get deep roots. And here's the thing, my friends. And just thinking about my life and how that process has gone through, when you really allow things to happen, you get so rooted. Because here's the thing, life is not this. You know that. I know that. So if life is not this, then, life is going to be like this, right? And when you allow the root to get so deep, when life starts going like this, that is the time when you really get to understand your power. When you really get to understand what alignment means. Because when life is going like this, it's a whole different game. It's a whole different energy that you get to tap into to move through the ups and downs, through the ripples, through the flows, right? It's a whole different game. It's a whole different mindset. It's when you really get to tap into all the things that you know for a fact. Remember how I started out? I talked about when you were a kid, when you got birthed by your mom, you knew that you could do some stuff. When life starts going like this is when you get to like step back into that. So that is, for me, that is like power. That is when you really, really stand in your power. So I'm going to invite you into, when things get a little bit wonky, just stop and tap it back into that power. And know that when you're in alignment and you're asking yourself the powerful questions that you will get back to flow. You will get back to flow. The key is not to stop, right? That's the key. I have a cohort in the 30-day sprint right now, and one of the ladies, she was sharing how she's really being stretched, because that's the intention of the program, is to stretch you beyond what you know and beyond what you do currently, right? So because she's being stretched, she's saying, this is hard. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But who are you going to become on the other side of it? Because when she builds the muscle, then she can always, anything that happens, she's going to be strong enough. And it's like when you trip on a sidewalk, right? When you have strong abs because you've been working out, you know how to get back up, right? You know how to get back up because you built the muscle. Now your body is strong. It's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna falter on you. When you don't build the muscle is when you fall, then you break your ankle, you break your foot, you break your arm, you break, your ribs, you get hit on the nose, you bust your head when you're not building the muscle. So the muscle is the roots that we've been talking about in the trees, right? So stop abandoning the process too soon, because it doesn't look like the seed is sprouting. The foundation is building the muscle. So you get to stay in it, right? And know that the vision that you see is a tree. You may not see the tree right away, but you got to know that the seed is sprouting. You got to know that that shoot is going to come up. It's the same thing in business. Most people, one of the statistics that I've always heard since I was in college, I heard the statistic when I was in economics class. They told me that, this has been a statistic that, just like, I guess because we say it so much, it's become the truth. I don't believe that anymore, but I'll share the statistics anyway. There's a statistic that says most businesses fail in the first 5 years. That's the statistics that's out there. And I would say if we change that thought process, we can actually change that statistic. If we step into the idea that growth is a process and building the foundation is like the roots of a tree, I think we can change that process, right? So staying in it and stop abandoning the process instead of looking at how can you pivot the process and shift it into something else. It's a whole different game. It's just a matter of the thinking, right? I talked about the law of thinking before. I would suggest everybody read that book, by the way. It's a book by Raymond Hollowell called the Working with the Law. All right. So we've talked about a couple of things already, and I just want to recap real quick. I have one more. We talk about the idea of working hard, and I'm saying it's not about working hard, it's about working in alignment. Notice I'm not even saying working smart, because some people, smart can take them out of the game. Just saying. Smart can take them out of the game, because sometimes when you're too smart, first of all, the ego just kills everything. It just kills everything, right? Would you agree? It would just kill everything. So not pretending to be smart, and if you're smart, being humble about it is the way to go. So that's one first thing, right? I'm not saying you gotta work. It takes work, because everything I'm saying takes work. I'm saying work intentionally versus working hard, because hard just brings this bad energy into things, right? In my world, hopefully yours, it brings this bad energy in. So if you're grinding, in grinding for me is like resistance. It's like you're pushing against something. So right when you're pushing, you feel that, right? But when you're in flow, you're doing the thing, but it feels more loose, right? It feels more flexible. And I believe flexibility is required in business. I don't care what anybody says. Flexibility is required in business, right? It's not about perfection. It's about being in the process, right? So process over perfection, right? And then the second one was I got to look at my notes. Strategy, right? You get to have more belief in yourself, more belief in the business that you're building, more belief in the process, and then you get the clarity. So you don't really need more strategy, because if you're a business person, business 101 is business 101, y'all. Business is 101. It's foundational. Once you have that, then you can step in. Once you have the foundation, once you have the scripts, the speech, the funnel, all that, and you start stepping into the next phase, that's the phase that you gotta let the seed go in and root. So, once you shift your belief in yourself and you know that this is something that you want to do, that is what you were called to do, you will find the strength and the power to stay in the game. All right. The next one is, if it doesn't happen fast, it's not working. Invisible momentum is real, y'all. Invisible momentum is real. My voice is going. Invisible momentum is real. I'm going to tell you, I was telling somebody, I forgot who was I talking to this, I think it was 2 weeks ago. When it comes to this invisible momentum, you sometimes, and I didn't understand this either, so I'm sharing it with you, right? I'm in a group called the Diva Network. And one of the things that the founder always talks about is who, not how. Who, not how. If you're listening to me today, if you're listening on the replay, if you get nothing else from this conversation today, who, not how is what I want you to get. Okay? Because that's the invisible momentum. That's the invisible momentum. You want to talk about speed. The right who will get you somewhere faster. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have the foundation in place. You got to have the foundation. And as a part of the process, the invisible momentum will be the person who can get you into the spaces, who can get you the things that you say you want that you didn't even verbalize. It will just, because you have the foundation, the who can show up. It's a thing, y'all. Just take my word for it. It's a thing, right? But again, the reason why I started with the tree is because you got to plant the foundation of building yourself up. You are the foundation. You are the foundation. You got to plant the seed. You got to have the belief. You got to do the work, right? And then when all that is done, the right who is going to show up. That first couple of ones that I talked about is your preparation. It's a preparation, because you got to be prepared, because the who can show up and you're not prepared. And I'll give you an example of that in my life. I remember I was in a coaching program, high level coach, really inner circle. And I got the opportunity to go on her stage, right? And I remember vividly when she said to me, "Lorna, are you ready?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm ready." In my mind, I was ready. Here's what was missing: my foundation. My foundation was missing, because I got the opportunity to go on the stage. And when I got that opportunity to go on the stage, had all the audience, all the things, and I did not have the funnel. I did not have the funnel. So that opportunity went bye-bye because I did not have the foundation. I did not plant the seed and let the root system grow, right? And then I got the tree, and then the wind blew it, and it fell down, right? I remember vividly the amount of people who opted into my lead magnet. I think the room had 250 people in the room that day. 250 people were in the room, and 85 of those people opted into my free gift. And because I didn't have the follow-up system, the foundation set up, did not have the process to speak to them. So, y'all, I tell you, when I come in here and talk, I'm not talking from theory, I'm talking from experience. This is a woman who has gone through the ups and downs of business, and I'm here to share with you. And that's why I say I collapse time for people. That's what I do, because I've had the experience. I know what it looks like, I know what it gets to look like, and that's how I support you, right? So, if it's not happening, if it's not growing fast, it's not working, that's a myth. So we want to change that by building our foundation and getting prepared so that when the opportunity comes, when the who comes, you are ready. All right. So my invitation to you today is to stop abandoning and stop starting and stop starting and stop starting. What I mean is stop starting. Just focus, figure out what works, what doesn't work, and then come back in and redo everything that you think is the wrong thing. Just step back in, make sure you're looking at it, ask questions, get coaching, get mentoring, get somebody else's eye. By the way, not your family. Get somebody else's eye on it so that you can shift it. That's all it is. It's a shift. That's all it is. Every business person that I know that is long term in business, that has been in the game for a while. You know, one of the people I love, they talk about him all the time. Well, one of the people I love is what's his name? Elon Musk. Elon Musk has this rooted, grounded energy that I pray that I could be like that. Because when Elon Musk sold PayPal for, I don't remember, $1 billion, 400 million, I don't remember what the number is. But when he sold that and he started the Tesla process, when he started that project, I didn't even know that he was almost bankrupt. He was almost bankrupt when he started Tesla, because one of the engineers that he had, one of the designers he had, was messing up the style of the car and actually was working for somebody else. That's a whole nother live when we talk about loyalty and who gets to be on your team, right? And Elon he almost went bankrupt. He almost didn't have payroll. I did not know that somebody could have $400 million, almost $1 billion, and still have problems with payroll. I was like, what? But because he was so rooted in what he was creating, because he had built the muscle of the flow, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flow of business, because he had that foundation, he was able to pivot, find the right partners, and step back in, right? So that's partially what I'm saying here. Like, he could have given up that dream because he had problems, right? But again, because he was rooted, he had the invisible momentum of that to pull him through what looked like was going to be a disaster. You get what I'm saying? I hope you're getting this. I hope you're getting this, because this is the crux of the road. This is where tenacity and resilience and persistence, all those things, this is where it is. It's when the thing gets so difficult that you think it's not working, that's when it's going to shift. So I'm going to encourage you one more time. Don't stop. You can't stop. You can't afford to stop. If your mission is that important, that's why I teach on values, right? If that mission is so important to you, you will not stop when it gets hard. But again, you got to build the foundation. You got to build your belief in yourself and in the process that you're creating, right? So, a lot of those myths are probably running in your background, in your subconscious mind right now, and it's time for you to reset it. And if you think that it's not, that's okay. I'm just going to invite you into just being in curiosity, just to say, hey, you know, I've been thinking like this for a long time. Is there anything else possible? Right? I was reading an article this morning before I jumped on here about a woman who she was she's such a woman. I'm like, maybe that's why I saw it, because she's like mirroring my life, right? So she was married for over 30 years, and one day she just felt like, oh my God, there gets to be more to life than this, right? And she decided to take a sabbatical from her job and go travel the world to see, what else was out there. Unfortunately, she said her boss said that was going to be a mistake for them, because she decided that she wasn't going to come back after going to like 30 countries. She realized that everything outside of the US was different, and she decided to go live in Italy, I believe. But I love that, because when she decided to do that, one of the things she did was she started going to different countries to see where she wanted to live, if she wanted to even put roots down in somewhere else. But in order for her to do that, why am I sharing this with you? In order for her to do that, she had to be grounded in who she was, or who she was becoming. But one of the things she had to do, I'm using the word had specifically, she had to ask herself questions about her life. Was the life she was building what she wanted, right? Walking the dog, playing pickleball, going to the same restaurant, having the same friends, doing the same thing every week, in and out. She had to ask herself that question. Was that what she wanted? And if it wasn't, then she had to ask her husband what he wanted. And here's what she said. Her husband was not curious. So because her husband was not curious, believe me, she divorced him. So she divorced him. She sold everything. She took a sabbatical. She went and traveled. And now she said she's the happiest she's ever been, because she is doing things in her values, right? So what do you hear? She was living in the idea of married, 4 children, white picket fence, and a job. That wasn't her value, right? She found out what her value was: travel, being free, having friends that she chooses and when she chooses, because the whole article had this whole thing. I'm not making this up. The whole article had everything in it, right? And that's what I got from it. So my point is, you've got to come back to your values in order to build the foundation, in order to grow the tree, in order to get to the right who, right? It's kind of like a process, like anything else. It's a process. So I actually wanted to just encourage you to get out of the grind, get out of the grind, get into questions, get into curiosity. Maybe this conversation for you this Saturday is really having you look at your life, and look at your life to make sure that where you are is where you want to be, right? I know that's for me too, right? I'm looking at where I want to be. I was talking to my friend earlier this week. And I was like, wait a minute, wait, am I in the right space? Am I in the right country? Am I, where am I? Where do I want to be in the next couple of months, right? So just look at it. I know I'm giving you a lot to think about. I know I'm disrupting your mind, yes, because going to school, having a job, white picket fence, and married are the things that we've all been told to do. I'm not saying that is not for you, and I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying be in inquiry, right? And then going back to the theme of this conversation is there's invisible growth and there's invisible momentum happening. That's why you've got to be so grounded in your vision and your mission and your values for what you want in your life. So that's all I got for today. Next week, we'll have a guest to have another conversation. I know when I come on, it's deep. I get it. That's who I am. And if you're in my world, you're going to hear these conversations, because I'm not here to be in the status quo. I'm here to disrupt and put you on the path and the trajectory of who you get to be on this planet earlier than later, so that you actually create the impact that you want to and actually leave the legacy that you want to on this planet for the next generation, right? So that in my mind is generational wealth. When you can pass on wisdom to people in the world who are ready for it, number one, and know that they're going to pass on that wisdom to whoever they come in contact with, that's for me is like, let's go. Okay. So that's all I got. Before I leave, I would love you to share this, subscribe. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, like it, comment, put it in the comments what's coming up for you from this conversation. If you want to talk to me further, just DM me. I loved having these conversations one-on-one. And I want to share with you the opportunity because we're having a masterclass called the Build for More Masterclass, Reset and Rise on August 7th at 5 p.m. Central. I would love, love, love for you all to be on that masterclass. Because if you're having any challenges around beliefs, about how to find your values, your highest values. By the way, in that masterclass, I teach about the difference between core values, intrinsic values, and highest values, because they're all integrated, but they're different, right? So when you get the distinctions clear, it actually supports you in making the decisions that actually gets you into alignment. So I would love, love, love for you to be there August 7th, Built for More Masterclass, 5 p.m. Central. And let's shift this thing, guys. Let's get your foundation solid. Let's get your tree growing. And let's get you to build a business that you love and a life that you are fulfilled in. That's all I got for today. I'm your host, Lorna Sherland, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.